I'd like to call this meeting to order. Now is the time for the open forum, and this is the time when any concerned citizen of Jefferson to speak on to the council on any item that is not on the agenda.
My name is Cindy Wise. Do you want me to speak now about the congregate meal site thing, or do you want me to wait? Is that on a different time to speak on that?
No.
Okay, then I'll speak on it right now. I wish I could have heard Bill Allen speak about this, but I've heard much about what the plans are for the congregate meal site. Is this on? Okay. I think I've shared before that I was a social worker for 25 years, and during that time of my life when I did social work different places, I really learned a lot about what motivated people. And the two main things that I discovered that really motivated people were personalities and values. And it really was a great training for me over the years. And I worked with families that had children 0 to 5, and I worked in the homes. I would go to the homes. And lots of times there were conflicts going on in the homes, and there had to be things resolved between parents. And sometimes it could get pretty heated and pretty confused. And I just really sought for an answer to those kinds of situations. And I just had an epiphany at one time that the thing that I needed to impart to those parents is that when you make decisions, make sure that your decisions benefit your children. And if your decisions benefit your children, you're making the right decision. And it was a great guideline for me in my career. And so as I hear about what's going on with the congregate meal site, I have a few questions about that. I really believe that we can have good ideas, but not right ideas. And that when we make decisions concerning people's lives, we really do have to speak out for the defenseless. Just like the parents had to make the decisions that were best for their children, because their children were the defenseless ones. And the question that I have for the City Council tonight, I specifically want to hear from the City Council as to how these things that are proposed to do with the congregate meal site, how that specifically helps the elderly citizens, how it benefits the elderly citizens in Jefferson who utilize it. I would like to know what you specifically think how that would specifically benefit those residents and those citizens of our community. Could I please hear from you all tonight on that issue?
You mean changing or working on that Greenwood Community Center or whatever? I don't know.
I think as we mentioned at the last meeting, we're just currently looking at all of that, planning right now.
Well, that's why I want to hear from you.
We don't know yet. We're looking
you don't
at
have
it.
any views about it at all?
That's why we're paying to have this study done, to look at all angles.
Well, what have you found out so far?
Cindy, we haven't got there yet,
got
which is
there.
what we talked about at the last meeting.
Well, it sure sounds like a lot of people have gotten pretty far on it, because that's why I know about it.
I think that's an assumption made without the reality of the
No,
situation.
it's from direct conversations with people who were at the last city council meeting.
The proposed, Bolton Inc. is doing a proposal on it right now. It's not supposed to be done until August, and the council
Okay.
myself are not privy to anything.
But can't you give the public your heart about how you
I
feel
don't
about
think-
that kind of a prospect?
I
You
guess
can't share that?
My thought on that is, I don't want to see anything that's going to hurt what's currently going on now.
And that's not the direction we're going. We're not, anything. Congregate meals is a benefit, again, like you said, to the citizens of not just Jefferson, but the citizens of Greene County. Mm-hmm. And we're not looking to do anything with congregate meals.
Not to take
I'm
away
talking
from it.
about the congregate meal site. The
The
congregate
site.
meal
Oh, we
site,
don't-
which
we-
would affect the congregate meals.
Not necessarily. The direction that was given to Bolton Mink was that congregate meals would not be affected at one bit.
What about the site as a center for elderly citizens to meet?
We don't have anything yet. We are.
And you can't share your feelings or heart about that prospect?
I don't know. I don't
You
know.
don't
We'll
know-
have
you
to-
don't know where you stand
We'll
on
have to
it?
wait till August to see. I mean, we're not going, myself and the council are not going to make up their minds on this till we see what the proposal is. I mean, how can you make up your mind on something you don't even know it's coming?
Well, I feel like I've
We're
heard
gonna-
what's
We're going to
coming.
do the best to benefit the citizens of Jefferson and the people who utilize congregate meals and that center, but we can't make a decision, we can't make up our mind. You know, if we make up our minds 3 months before this happens, what good is it going to be? We've got to see the proposal first.
Okay. Well,
The general sentiment is that it's mutually beneficial. That's the bottom line I think everybody's aiming for. And if we figure out it can't be that, then it may not move forward
mutually beneficial to who?
for congregate meals and the city, both.
And the city what?
And the city, both.
The other part about this that is, I mean, this has just always been part of any of the ideas to start with, is that if the city would somehow acquire ownership or use of the Greenwood Center, as part of that deal, it requires that the city would always provide a site for congregate meals.
But it could be a
At that
different,
site, at that site.
at that site.
Yes. You know, and so where we are in the process is we've had one kickoff meeting to it with folks who are involved from the city, Greenwood, congregate meals, golf course folks, they were there. So that's what, as far as any group work, that's all that's been done. And then it has been then turned over to Bolton and Mink here, in this case, they're the consultants on that. So they'll be doing their feasibility study work, again, to be done sometime around the end of July or August. But just, again, and this just goes back to the beginning of any discussions with that if the city were somehow to acquire use of that building, it would be stipulated that Congregate Meals always has the site there.
As you progress with this, would you be willing to do updates before a final, just?
Oh, yeah, we'll.
This is,
yeah, yeah,
before
we
you
can't-
just give this big report?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't, once we see the report, well, I'm sure we'll have a public hearing or
Yeah.
comments on it, and it will be public knowledge, so
Yeah.
it's.
And the result of that report is not the final decision of the city, that's just a reference for the city to look at. And of course, there'll be multiple inputs to that study as is.
Yeah, it's those inputs that are nice to hear along the way instead of just a final report at the end. It's helpful to the public to be part of the progression of decisions.
Well, I'm sure if anybody's got any concerns, if they want to write them down, send them to City Hall, they can be included in the conversation with Bolton Mink on their study.
Okay, and Mr. Jackson, I appreciate you for sharing your heart about the matter. That's real helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cindy, on this, my only concern is that the kitchen needs to stay and they need a gathering place for these people because they need to leave that first floor alone. That's what it's for. My biggest fear is that over time, they'll shorten them down, and then, people quit, they get tired of fighting with changes, and then they're out, and then it's something different. That should never happen there, because they have a service that is absolutely detrimental to our community. I mean, it was a service to my mom when she was home alone, and
Detrimental? Beneficial?
beneficial. Sorry, I graduated from Jefferson, I'm
I was trying to
sorry.
make sure you made your point correctly. I thought
I mean,
that's what you meant.
it's something that people need to put their input in and follow, because I do not want this program to be shoved into a smaller area and then smaller, and then it's done. That absolutely does not need to happen. And I think there's 2 boards out there, and I think they will stick together for the benefit of those people. And there's a lot of other concerns with parking, and then you have the snow removal, the maintenance, and there's a lot to this, and the city absolutely needs to put those people first, because most of them have been in this community a long time, and they deserve better than pushed out and pushed away.
Chad, you mean the
Greenwood Center.
right,
You know,
but the Meals on Wheels, but do you also mean where they meet?
Yeah, they have to have a
Okay.
meeting area, otherwise less people will use it. The less people it's used, well, it's not important, we'll throw you here, and then the city takes a bigger thing over, and then you get everybody mad and they quit.
Yeah.
Well, it quit, it failed, now we have the whole building.
Bob,
That's
are-
what I don't want to have happen.
Are most meals delivered, or do they eat them there?
About 90% of the meals are delivered, and about 10% is, but there's several times through the year where those meals are, have a lot more people come in to eat. You know, like the month of April, we had a 400 person increase in eating inside. So at certain months of the year, we have a big increase.
Nice weather.
I can certainly appreciate the first impression and fear that, you know, this evolving into something that has a negative impact on congregate meals. And I think, from what I gather from the initial conversations, is that nobody here wants anything remotely close to that. Number one. How is this a mutually beneficial situation for both parties? And if it doesn't look like it, after thorough study and inventory of every aspect, if it doesn't look like it would be, then it may not move forward. Probably wouldn't move forward. And that's why we're trying to do this very educated approach to it.
I guess before I sit down, I just want to say that, you know, there's a certain part of the population who identifies with that place. And identity is really important. Sure. And everyone will eventually find out that it's one of the most important things in your life is your identity and how you see yourself in your community. And I just feel like the people who utilize that site, Greenwood, the people who live in that area, their identity is very, very hooked to that place and that part of town. They're proud of it. They have a place to say, this is where I live. This is where we celebrate our birthdays. This is where we go to have conversation. This is my life. It's very much a part of their identity. So when something like that is drastically changed, you're not just physically changing a structure. You really are engaging a person's identity, and it can be a tearing apart of their identity after they have established themselves all for decades. And I just think that you have to be mindful of the consequence and caring, just plainly caring for that part of the population, because they are the more defenseless part of the population, just like children.
Okay,
So-
thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Gary?
Good evening.
Could you say where you live, Gary? You forgot to put it down here on your phone.
I live at 1112 237th Street, Jefferson, Iowa. Out in the luxury end of town, where the river runs free and the deer poop in your yard. How's that? So, that's on a cheery note. So I'm not here to give you my opinion, okay? I just want to reflect a little bit. I don't spend a lot of time in town. If I'm in my office, I'm usually messing with some fishing stuff, and then I get out of town. So, but I do listen to a lot of people. So I just want to give you a little mirror reflection and maybe a little encouragement, okay? People are watching you, in case you didn't know that. And they're listening to you very intently. And they're going to make some decisions in the future on what they see you do compared to what they hear you say. Just saying. If you look at our political arena as it unfolds before us, we found out and we see that people lie. Imagine that, people lie. In politics, they lie. They say one thing and they do something else. This is part, not the encouragement part, so hang on, we'll get there. This is just the reflection part. But people lie, and then somebody's gonna come along and hold you accountable for that, okay? We got lied to about COVID, we got lied to about the vaccines, we got lied to about Russia, we got lied to about the laptop, we got lied to and lied to and lied to and lied to. And people are sick of being lied to. All of that money comes out of their pockets. There is no free money. All of the money that you're gonna spend is gonna come out of these people's pockets. And at one point, they're gonna go, we're done, we're done. Now, on to the encouragement part. Jefferson is a great place to live, but we peaked in 1978. We peaked in 78. Seriously, go back and look at the records. That's the year I graduated. That was the year we peaked in the citywide population and in the county. We're looking at spending how much money for less than 50 units? Think about it. People are watching. You guys, some of you can't tell me what a woman is. Some of you think that men can turn into women and that men can best breastfeed. Those are your personal views. People are watching. People are listening. People will make decisions. And everything is going to change. All of you are going to change. One day you're not going to be sitting here anymore. That's a fact. That was the encouragement part. That's all I got to say about that. Have a great evening.
Thank you. On to the consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Weetrick.
Aye.
Somali.
All right.
Under new business, item A is, this is time for a public hearing, shut up, on the proposed fiscal year 2024 to 2025 budget amendments.
Beautiful. So here are the 24-25 budget amendments. This is the very, very boring state form. It lays out the different categories through revenue and expenses. The part where the state forms is for the revenues, they kind of mix and match with general fund. So you'll see some revenues pulled from the golf course and PD and everything like that. So we are just going to do a quick recap of those. So this is the amount of amended revenues we have. Really, when you take a look at amendments, you're going to come away with two things. It really comes down to timing of our bonds and our SRF payments for the wastewater treatment facility. So, if we look here, the taxes levied on properties, all of these we have adjusted down. If you remember, we had to go through a reevaluation process, and so right after I did a budget presentation, I got a call that like the foundation of that budget presentation shifted a little bit. So some of those categories are amended down, and you can see the reasoning under here for hotel, motel, SRF, that sort of thing. But the good news is we also adjusted some revenues up with our license and permits, use of money and property. I wanted to highlight this one because, again, the Finance Committee did a great job of pushing some things into investment accounts, and you can see the dollars down here of how many investments and interest we get on those investments. The intergovernmental is going to be the big one, the $3.6 million. It really comes down to SRF funding, about $3.5 million that we took back in. And then you'll also see that on the expense side of things. And under miscellaneous, we have, again, our SRF it gets split into two different accounts, one into governmental and one into miscellaneous, just by the way it's coded. Some library expansion donations and some pass-through grants. And then we have amended expenditures for $6.9 million. Again, this pulls from the state fund, state forms. Public safety is going to be your PD, your fire, and your animal control. There's no amendments there. In the public works, we're also not doing amendments for road use tax, streets, snow removal, traffic control, that sort of thing. In the health and social services category, we're going about $2,000. This really comes from our employee reimbursement of the health insurance sinking fund. Culture and recreation, that was some tree planting and some golf course, so the golf course and the rec center with some salaries and benefits, and they've been great additions to our team. The community and economic development, we had the Bell Tower Foundation, TIF rebate payments, and downtown facades. The general government, our city hall utilities came in a little bit higher, doing some new programming and computers at City Hall. Our audit came in a little bit higher than that tree assistance program that's had a lot of great benefits through our community as well. Adjusting debt service just a little bit. This capital projects one you're going to think about as the bond, so you're going to see that East Lincoln Way resurfacing, purchase of sanitation, the new sanitation truck, and the recycling trucks that go along with that. With that, we have seen an increase in our recycling tonnage. A lot more people are recycling, and honestly are requesting it to be a weekly thing right now. And then the business enterprises, again, that comes down to our wastewater treatment facility plant. Any questions, comments, concerns about amendments? Really just comes down to bond and SRF. Beautiful.
I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing if no one has any other comments. Oh, Rick, go ahead.
I was educated at Jefferson High, too. What's an SRF?
State revolving fund, that's the loan for the wastewater plant.
Thank you.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Zamalik?
Aye.
Weetrick?
Aye.
Sloan?
Aye.
Jackson?
Aye.
Aaron Holtz?
Aye.
Item B is a resolution amending the current budget for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
Yeah, this would just actually be the resolution to make the amendment.
I'd move to make that amendment.
Second.
Sloan?
Aye.
Jackson?
Aye.
Weetrick?
Aye.
Zamalik?
Aye.
Aaron Holtz?
Aye.
Item C is, now's the time for public hearing on the disposition of vacated alley, Block 34, original town of Jefferson, Greene County, Iowa.
So this was the north half of that vacated alley that lies underneath the middle school, small parcel that I think we talked about that last meeting a couple weeks ago, that they do believe that it's always been owned by the school, after it was platted as city property. But they can't find the record that that north half of that alley, that little sliver, was ever actually conveyed to the school. So what this does is buttons it up. And kind of like Chad pointed out last meeting, it means that the city is then not on the hook to tear it down if it was ever to be torn down. So we're going to, if the city approves it, what this does is it follows then the conveyance of the rest of the school to the developer. So that's what the council's voting on tonight.
Gary, you signed up to speak?
In regard to the middle school?
Yes.
Well, seeing how
The vacation of the alley to the developer.
Say it one more time.
The vacation of the alley to the developer is what you signed up to speak on.
Yeah, so there's a little sliver of land underneath the middle school. It's a half of an alley.
Okay.
And they cannot find at the courthouse the deed where the city transferred that to the school. So if that was not done correctly 100-plus years ago,
Right.
then it's just been the city's the whole time. Now, the school obviously has had the full responsibility for it. What this does is gets it out of the city's name, so that, like it should have been 100 years ago,
Right.
to kind of bootstrap that. So that's the only part of this.
That's the
Council.
only part of this that was to be addressed tonight?
Right, yeah, you
Yes.
got it. Yep.
Well, then let me chime right in. Seeing as how I'm speaking back to where I started, seeing as how I'm speaking to a group of progressive forethinkers who is always ahead of the game, always on top of the ball, right? I mean, come on, guys, agree with me. It's a poor dog that can't wag his own tail, right? Right? You guys are ahead of this. You're ahead of the game. So who's been doing the maintenance on it?
School.
School. So does the law still apply that you have 5 years or 7 years, if your property line fence is in the wrong position, you have, I think, 5 years for commercial to bring that to the attention of the intruder and get the fence moved and reclaim your property, right? And if you don't do it in 7 years, then they own your property. You're looking stumped. That's okay, we'll just move past that. So take it and do what you need to do with it and get that loose end tied up.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Does that make sense?
That's what we're doing.
Well, I'm thinking like you guys now. Maybe I should run for city council someday. I'd have to move into town though, wouldn't I?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Weitrick.
Aye.
Zamalik.
All right.
Scott, is there any, should we approve a resolution or an intent?
So that's the next one.
Yeah.
It's the next
This
one? Oh,
approves the sale of the property.
okay, I see, okay.
Yep.
So item D is resolution approving sale of property at 203 West Harrison Street, which is the vacated alley.
So what's really happening here too is that we're just giving a quit claim deed to the property. We wouldn't claim any ownership to it, but we're quit claiming any interest that we have.
I move to approve that sale.
Second.
Sloan.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Weitrick.
Aye.
Zamalik.
All right.
Item E is resolution approving the Second Amendment to the employment agreement with the city administrator.
This would be, yeah, just keeps the current employment agreement that I have with the city and changes the salary then from 120 to 125.
I move to approve.
Second.
Zamalik.
Aye.
Weitrick.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Item F is a resolution approving accepting the water well and access easements.
I would like to really acknowledge the school on this. So the area that this is, so if you're at the middle school, and there's a water well building directly to the south or the southwest corner of that old middle school building. Okay, that's the area where we're moving the backup generator from the sewer plant. So we did with the new sewer plant project, there's a new generator involved with that. So we'll take that old generator, move it up to this water well, then south of the old middle school, so that can be hooked up to backup generation. Actually, we'll hook up 3 wells to that. So it'll hook up that one. There's one by Dave Moreland's, and then there's one back over towards the White Apartments. All 3 of those get hooked up then into this backup generator. And all but 1 or 2 of our wells will now be on backup power, so we can address any emergency situations. The school has granted us this easement, and this would just be us accepting that easement that they've granted us, no cost.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jackson.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Samalik.
Aye.
Weitrich.
Aye.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Item G is consider hiring Shaden Thurman as a police officer.
Good evening. My pleasure to introduce you folks to Shaden Thurman. I'd like to recommend that we hire Shaden for the police department. Will be our 8th and final officer. We made it. Now we'll do everything we can to maintain that. Union contract for start would be $60,341.47. And Shaden's first day I would propose to be May 30th. So it'd be this Friday. And I'll give Shaden just a minute to introduce himself to you.
Good evening, everyone. I just recently moved to Jefferson from Sherdam, but I grew up around here. I've worked out at the hospital for the last 4 years. I'm familiar with Mr. Jackson over there. Took a few of his classes. I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity, and I look forward to getting to know all of you.
Shaden has some family members here tonight and some members of his new family. His law enforcement family, so really excited.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Weitrich.
Aye.
Samalik.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome aboard, Jaden.
Item H is change order number 9 for the wastewater treatment plant project.
So Katie is here tonight to speak on that for Bolton Bank.
So I believe that you have 2 drafts in your packet. Before this meeting, we weren't sure which draft that we would need to present you, but draft B is the final change order. So this change order includes items that were approved in Field Order 26 a couple of weeks ago, minus the contractor's proposed change order 99. So that proposed change order is the reason that there were 2 drafts. Proposed change order 99 is the addition of an external disconnect for the plant that the state electrical inspector said was required. And diving down deeper into that with our electrical engineers, we believe that there is an opportunity for a waiver to that requirement, and we have been trying to work with the electrical inspector and his office to discuss that waiver. We were hoping to have resolution on that, but unfortunately we don't, which is why we pulled that item out of the change order. So all of the other items in Field Order 26 are included in this change order. That one is not. So our goal is that we'll get a waiver for that item and you won't hear about it again. Worst case scenario is that the waiver gets denied and we would have to have an additional change order to include that back in the project. So that's that item. Change order 9 itself is for $95,218.49. Increase to the project, as well as adding 149 days to the final completion of the project. Substantial completion was met on May 1st. The project is, or the plant is operating with its new processes, but this change order includes switching out of a grit pump, and so that additional time is the lead time required to get a new pump in and have that installed. And then the other items in this field order, there were some couple of small minor changes, some time materials, and then the other big item is switching out the HVAC in the biosolids load-out building. Do you have any questions on the items in this change order or about any of it?
No, this is something that we've stayed real close to, particularly with the streets, sewer and water committee. And then we've had a variety of other meetings along the way to discuss these change orders and what they mean, what they meant, and how they became change orders rather than part of the original contract.
Right.
And with all of that, I would move to approve the request for the change order.
Second.
Somali?
Aye.
Sloan?
Aye.
Jackson?
Aye.
Weitrick?
Aye.
Aaron
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Item I is the GCDC quarterly report.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Scott Weber. I'm the president of GCDC, and so I'll just give you guys a quick update here for our quarterly report. We still have our project going on in the East Business Park, getting close to probably having some dirt get moved around out that way, so that'll be good. Finalizing just a few little things there. We continue to work with Midwest Missions on this building over there, and had a few things that needed to be fixed and done up over there, so we continue to work with them on that. They've been great partners to work with on that. And then we had Vision 2030 that we were working on, and things changed a little bit here, so as of May 30th, Ken Paxton will be done working for GCDC here, and so we've now been in the discussions on where we go from here and what's next for our organization and how that looks. And so I've been spending a lot of time in the last 2-3 weeks on this project. And we just have a multitude of different ideas that we're looking at doing, whether that be join forces with another group, look at an alliance group, or go right back out and do a national search for another director. And so been getting all the numbers put together, meeting with different organizations. I have another meeting this week with a different group. I've had 2 or 3 other ones already, some conference calls, all the things, just putting it together so that way we can make the best decision that we can make going forward. And with that, we've also been having some conversations, where I've been having some conversations, and we'll report back. Looking at maybe, well, actually, I don't know about maybe, but we're looking at doing a interim director, and for the time being, because this process, as we work through things, our next meeting is a week from today, kind of get some things put together, figure out where we're going to go from there, have another meeting, kind of go from there with our full board, all the things. So it takes time, so it's not going to happen overnight for us here. And so I feel like we need to get an interim director in position here to kind of help us as we go through. Jason's still on board. Jason's here every day. He's been answering emails and phone calls and forwarding everything on for us. We still have all that going on. He's doing a great job keeping us up to date on all that. And then as far as the other projects go, you know, I've just been jumping in and handling those as well as they kind of come about. And so that's kind of where we're at with things right now. So looking forward to the new direction and seeing where we're going to go from here. And obviously we'll be in contact with the city and our other major stakeholders. And we really do appreciate your guys' support as we continue to work through different things. And yeah, so lots to look forward to, looking forward to the process of it, and coming out great on the other end. So any questions from the council?
Is Vision 2030 on hold then until?
It is on hold right now, yep.
Have you contacted the members of that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
There was an email that got sent out, and I got replies. I've actually talked to quite a few people in the community who've reached out to me and wanted to know what the next date is, and we told them we'd get right back to them once we kind of get this, but we felt like this took top priority for us right now. And then as we kind of re-engage that vision crew again, it'll be great to hear from them on what they see of you know, GCDC and where we can go from there. So I'm also looking forward to hearing from all those folks too. So yeah, I think it'll be a good process for us to kind of reevaluate. So any other questions?
Has there been any news on the old Frigidaire site?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
And are all the lots, your incubators over, is there anything going with those yet that's advertised?
Not that I know that's advertising. You mean from the business owner for advertising, or what are you talking about?
I mean, are they building them? Is that going through?
Yeah, I just mentioned.
All the land in that area, a TIF district.
Well, there's 3 lots out there that he's looking to
build on out there. And so we've signed the contract with that. And I've mentioned the dirt should start moving here in the next week or two to get the sewer extended, and then the road extended to those 3 lots to access there for him. So, and as far as his building and his construction and all that, they've been talking with Jim Lighting and their group, because there's got to be retention ponds and dirt work and all that, and so that's on him and his crew to figure those things out, so.
So if anybody bought those lots from you guys, are they a TIF district or not?
Well, that's a city, the city is the tax increment financing group, so.
I don't know that answer, Chad. I would need to
Yeah.
check if
Yeah.
it's in a district or not.
Now, I believe the ones on the West Business District were TIF lots, but I can't speak to 100% of that, for sure. But I don't know about the East Business Park. Any other questions? Okay, yeah.
No, you go ahead first.
No, what, an interim director, are you hiring someone or looking for someone within the board, or what do you mean about?
Well, we haven't made that decision yet on who or what it's gonna be, but we've been talking to multitudes of different people, some within, some without, outside of the organization. So yeah, we'll take a look at all that, yep. So, no decision yet.
In the past year and a half, how many jobs have you created? What have you done for the community?
Job creation is a really good question. I think that's a hard number to put out there exactly. We'd have to really do some digging underneath there, and that changes all the time. So can't give you an exact number. It's a good question. Something that I feel like we should probably get a number on, but we can get that figured out. Try to anyways, so.
What projects have you done in the last year and a half?
The year and a half?
Success.
So we have this one going out in the East Business Park right now. Trying to remember the other ones that we've had in the last year and a half now. We've worked on some housing things, had a couple of those. Anything else, Rick or Harry, that I'm forgetting? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. What's that?
Sarah Huddleston.
Yeah, the MFRC, yes, sorry about that. Yeah, the MFRC is a big one underneath there.
She's going to be doing some more things at the high school. She's really been focused on the elementary, which I think is a good place to start, because for those, to get those kids to speak English at an earlier age will pay dividends on down.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we work on. I tell people this all the time, that economic development, there's a lot of things that come forward and you lose a lot more in economic development than you win for project. There's a lot of ideas thrown out, a lot of different things. There's a lot of projects that happen that aren't because of GCDC and stuff, but of the things that have been built in the past because of what the city and the county and economic development have done and just continue to build on. So a lot goes into it. Yep. Good? Anything else?
Is this a request for?
Yeah, for the quarterly funding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd move to approve the quarterly funding to GCDC.
Second.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smolik.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Dietrich.
Aye.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Under reports, Jim.
Pickleball court was, surfacing was finished a couple weeks ago. They have not finished the lights. Those are supposed to be completed on Thursday. They had some issues with the programming or the timer on that, so that will hopefully be done this Thursday, and if everything is up and running as it should be, then we would be proceeding to close out that project probably at the June 10th meeting. Otherwise, it is open and being used as far as I know, so. Westwood project, we are looking to have a kickoff meeting with city staff on Friday to review the route, discuss issues, concerns, that kind of thing, and then move into the next steps, which will eventually lead to probably a public information meeting later this summer. And then the Greenwood project, we continue to work on the preliminary layouts and the concepts, and then we'll probably be looking in the first part of July for another meeting with all the stakeholders that we had the kickoff meeting with, and then from there refining anything, and then looking to finish out that study and report for August, so.
Okay. And you will, the stakeholders will have, you will publicize when the stakeholders, the meeting, it won't be,
Yeah,
it won't be a closed meeting, I mean.
It's not a public meeting, but it will be the same people that were at the
You've got
kickoff.
stakeholders that are concerned about it, so,
Yeah.
okay. Roxanne,
No report.
David,
No report.
Scott,
Just that Jefferson's going to host the Northwest Iowa League of Cities meeting, and that is on June 19th. It's a Thursday night dinner meeting, and hopefully everybody can get that on their calendar and come to that meeting on June 19th. Other than that, that's it.
Chad, you have anything? Mark, anything extra?
No report.
Cool. Harry,
No report.
Matt,
Just Park and Rec related, that the pool should be open here in the next week or less, maybe this weekend.
Good for Sunday.
Sunday's the goal.
Chad,
No report.
Pat? No report. Darren?
Animal shelter met, we're giving a raise to the people that clean out there, the 2 women that do that. And with the police, with Jason's help, we're trying to work through all the ins and outs of who can surrender pets and when to, or strays, I should say, not pets, and bring them out there. And if anyone wants a dog or cat, go get a dog or cat. They need the space.
Cool. The other thing I have, I went on the brag ride. I heard a lot of comments from people outside the city who thought it was a great ride, very well signed, very well handled, and they're looking forward till next year.
Yep.
So.
Most people were from outside of Greene County, so good
Yeah.
economic development and.
Yeah, there were people from, I counted 3 different states that showed up for that, so it was pretty cool. Okay, we're done.